We are going to talk about the Lynchburg, Virginia market and a little bit of the national market in this video today. So if you're thinking about moving to or buying or selling in the Lynchburg, Virginia area or the surrounding areas, this is a great video for you to check out. And I'm going to tell you right up front, I think it's a weird market, but it's also a great time to buy if you can. So we're going to talk about why is it weird? Why should I buy? We'll get into all of that right now. Now the numbers, most of the numbers are going to tell us it's a seller's market, but some numbers, days on market, price reductions, some numbers are going to say it's a buyer's market.
That's weird. That's weird.
Yep, I think it's weird. Now listen, if you've been around this channel for any amount of time, or hey, if this is the first video you watch, you're going to hear me say two words. And you've heard me say it before if you've watched other videos. It depends. JD, what's the market like in Lynchburg, Virginia?
It depends.
Well, it depends.
Depends.
You're dead on, Frazier, Bobby, and Jerry. It depends. It's always important to remember. It depends on your specific situation and on your specific house, whatever you're doing, selling or buying. It depends. Your situation and your house can be very different than what the rest of the market is doing or looks like. We are going to look at numbers. I'm going to show you some data, but just remember, nobody has a crystal ball.
See the future. You can.
So if somebody tells you, oh, I know exactly what's going on in the market, I know exactly what's going to happen with your house, be careful. Do you know I heard someone say recently, Ricky Caruth, thank you, that agents don't control when houses sell. And how do we know that? Because there are houses on the market right now.
You're not selling it, sir. Sell it.
And if an agent could control when it sold, that house would sell the first day, the first hour, the first minute. Sellers and agents want homes to sell. Buyers want to buy homes, but agents don't control that. The best an agent can do is use their experience, their training, their market analysis, and get us pointed in the right direction so we have a chance to be successful. But it depends. About this market today in Lynchburg, Virginia, and in other places in the country, I've spoken to agents, lenders, brokers, buyers, sellers. Some of the words I hear: soft, sluggish, strange, and a word I've used today, it's a little weird. Why is it weird? Because most numbers say seller's market, but some situations really look like a buyer's market. Before we jump into the data, let me remind you, I am JD Miller. I work with that little international real estate company called JD Miller Realty. No, that's not right. That's not real mediation. I work with that little international real estate company called EXP Realty. Now's a great time to take a screenshot, take your phone out, take a picture, get the good old piece of paper and pen and scratch down my name, my number, my email, and I would ask you to reach out to me anytime, whether you're thinking about buying in a month or in a year, it doesn't matter. It's always a good time to see if we are a good fit and connect together. Also, I want to ask you to go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. Hey, maybe even save this specific video so you can come back to it 2, 3, 6 months from now and compare what the market looks like then and what it looks like now. And a real quick aside, do you know why anyone on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube asks you to like, comment, subscribe? It's because when you like and comment, even if you give us a thumbs down, when you do those things, the internet machine, that software program, it says, hey, people are engaging with this, and it could get us, could get me out to more people like you who are in the market to buy, sell, maybe move to Lynchburg, Virginia, and people like you might be a good fit with someone like me. So that's why we ask you to go ahead and comment, like, subscribe. Anything you want to do, hit all the buttons on there. I don't care.
Hit the subscribe button, okay?
Hit the subscribe button.
Quick, hit the radio control ejector button.
But you have my name and number. Anytime you're ready, feel free to reach out and we can have a discussion about some of these numbers. I look at the market every week. I look at residential properties, what's sold, what's pending, what's hitting the market. And here's the thing, the past 4 weeks, our active residential listings have been in the 800s. Now that is significantly higher than it's been the past 5 years. If we go back 1 year ago and we look at the same 4-week period on the calendar, we've had active residential listings in the 6s and 1.5. And if we look 2 years ago, same time frame on the calendar, our active residential listings were all in the 500s. So in the 800s, it's more inventory. The more inventory we have, we think, hey, that kind of points us to a buyer's market because there are more options for the buyer, and it could force sellers to be a little less aggressive on pricing, on terms. It could be a buyer's market. But there's a term in the real estate world called absorption rate. And we're not going to go over the formula right now, but absorption rate means if we had all these homes on the market and we sold one by one off and we didn't add any new listings to the market, how long would it take for all the listings to be gone? How long would it take for there to be no homes on the market? Anything under 3 months is considered a seller's market, meaning there's not a lot of choices out there. So as a seller, I can kind of mark my house at a premium and get premium terms, premium price, that sort of thing. So let's look at the absorption rate. If we look at a 3-month period in the Lynchburg MLS for Lynchburg, Virginia, we're at a 2.7 month supply. That's how many months we have until we hit 0. If we look at a 12-month period in the Lynchburg, Virginia market, we're at a 2.9 month supply. All numbers that say seller market. And if we drop down into specific areas, I looked at Lynchburg City, Forest, Rustburg, Alta Vista. If we dial into those specific areas, all of those areas are under a 3-month supply of residential property. So even though the inventory numbers are rising and higher this year than they are the past several years, we still have relatively low number of homes and monthly supply if we look at the absorption rate. But what are some numbers that tell us, hey, this could be a buyer's market? Price reductions, expired listings, withdrawn listings, days on the market. Let's look at some data here on the buyer side. Last year at this time, we saw price reductions of homes in the 50s per week. Every week I'd see price reductions about 50, 51, 53, 57. Now, in the current market, we're seeing price reductions on a weekly basis in the 70s and the 80s. So what's that telling us? Well, agents and sellers, if they're smart, they work together, they look at the market, and they price a home in a way that it will sell as quickly as possible. But some of these homes have to be dropped in price because the agent and the seller think, hey, I think this is a good number, but it doesn't sell at that number. So then it has to come down once, maybe twice, maybe more. Sits on the market a little bit.
I don't like it.
It all depends. It all depends. I had a house in my neighborhood that was on the market for 6 months. And when it finally sold, it sold for only $5,000 under the listed price. There weren't price drops. The sellers were in a position financially where they could say, hey, we're just going to keep it here. We think we like this number. This is where we want to be. We can afford it. So there are all different variables of why someone might be forced to sell, take a lower number, why someone buying might be in a position to pay more, pay less. There's all kinds of variables. That's why I say it depends. Another thing we need to consider are interest rates. Now, overall, interest rates are higher right now than they were during the COVID era.
Yeah, it's high, but it's not that high.
And what that could mean for sellers is that higher interest rates can scare off some buyers. It can shrink your buyer's pool. But take a look at this video of historic interest rate numbers. We go back to 1971 and we come all the way to present. In the 80s, we hit interest rates in the 18%. And then we kind of crept down little by little. We're dropping interest rates around the housing bust time of 2008. Interest rates dropped around COVID. We were down in the 2.5%. We're in the 2s. And again, it depends on your debt to income ratio, your income, your credit score, all of that. But interest rates today, as I make this video, we're sitting in the low 6s, 6.1, 6.2. Maybe in the high 5s, depending on what kind of loan product you're using, a VA loan, a government loan, depending on your credit score and all of that. So interest rates historically, they're not overly high. They're high compared to 5 years ago, but they're not overly high. This is another good important time for me to maybe to give you my number and my email and tell you if you're thinking about purchasing. I mean, I honestly mean it. You could be thinking about it. You're not sure. Maybe you're thinking about investing. That's coming up next. We're going to talk about investors. Maybe you're thinking about investing. What you want to do is talk to an agent in that local market. It's me, JD, here in Lynchburg, Virginia for you. talk to a lender who's familiar with that local market and figure out what's the market doing, what can I do? It depends on what you can do. What's my credit score? What's my debt to income ratio? What's my income overall? What's my real estate portfolio look like? Or if I'm just starting to build one. So give me a call, send me a text, shoot me an email. Let me help you get connected to a lender in the area. I can give you some options there. And we can talk about what the process and the journey might look like for you. But speaking of investors, nationwide from 2024 to now, we are up 1 million rental units. And from 2023 to now, nationwide, we're up 1.6 million renters. And rent, if you're renting, you know this, rent increases. If you're a property owner, it's smart to increase the rent annually just by a little bit even, so the value of that property can continue to rise and it can help you if and when you decide to sell. So rental units are up, renters are up, rent prices are up. In Q2 of 2025, nationwide, 33% of single-family homes were purchased by investors. And the historic numbers across the board, across the country, 80 to 90% of investor-owned properties are owned by, do you know who? Small investors, investors who own between 1 and 10 properties. That's not just last year, that's not this year, that's historically across the board. If you take a picture and say, here are investor-owned properties, 80 to 90% of them are owned by people who only own between 1 and 10. Maybe that's you. It's me right now. I only have between 1 and 10. Maybe it's something you want to talk about. Investors are buying. So if investors are buying, we think, might be a good time to buy because investors want to make money. They don't want to lose money and they're buying. And I can kind of tell what some people might be thinking. Yeah, JD, you are a realtor. I am a realtor with that little international company called eXp Realty. And I love to help people buy and sell. But you're thinking, yeah, you want people to buy. You want people to sell because you're a salesman.
So, okay, you're a salesman?
Well, that's true. I am in the sales industry, I guess you would say. But here's the thing. I've told many clients when we looked at houses, when we looked at areas, when we looked at their purchase and what they wanted to do and what they told me they wanted to do. And I looked at the situation and I said, are you sure you want to do this? You might hear me tell you that if you and I work together. Are you sure? I'll write up any contract you tell me to write up as long as it's legal, ethical, and you have the means to complete it. I'll write it up. But I want to make sure that it's a good fit as best I can for you. I do not want to sell a place just to sell a place. Not me. You might find some people like that. You're not finding one in this video or in this location in Lynchburg, Virginia. So I do want to help people buy and sell, but not if it's not the right time for you. But I do think there are things to think about if you're on the fence. One, maybe you purchase a home that's a little smaller than you anticipated purchasing. Maybe you purchase a home that maybe isn't as fancy, doesn't have the upgrades that you were thinking about.
That's fancy. That's fancy.
Maybe you change your area focus just a little bit, add 5, 10, 15 minutes to where you're looking. The thing is, location, 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 right? It's possible to change location. I do know someone once who picked a house up and moved it at great cost and expense to them. It's possible, but mostly you're not changing your location. The other thing you're not changing is your purchase price. So today, when we see those price reductions on some homes sell very quickly, they don't drop price. But we see some opportunity out there to get an offer in, to get a purchase done at lower than the list price. That could be you today. And maybe you sit in that home for 2 years and then you move on. You sell, you take the proceeds, you buy another place. Or you keep it in your rental, your investment portfolio, and you move on and buy another place. Location does not change. The other thing that doesn't change is purchase price.
How much is it?
Today might be a good day for you to get a house at a good price, at a great price maybe even, but the price is not going to change. What could change is your interest rate. So if in the future it's advantageous and it makes sense to you numbers-wise to refinance, you can do that. But we can't go back and get you a different purchase price. It is what it is. And right now I'm making this video in the fall. Come spring, if interest rates do drop, if they do come down and more buyers jump into the market, more buyers equals what? More competition. More competition equals what? Higher prices. So you could get a good deal right now today on a property and then in the future, sell it, move on, refinance, keep it in your portfolio. There's lots of options. Man, I feel like I should just end with the 2 words. It depends.
It depends.
Well, it depends.
Depends.
It does depend on you. I know you have to have the money, you have to have the wherewithal, you have to have the ability to make it happen. But grab my name and number, give me a call. I'd be happy to connect you with a lender, walk you through all those steps. And lenders that will talk to you, that I will give you for sure, probably every lender, I don't know, they're going to do it at no cost, no obligation, no commitment. They're going to talk to you. They want to earn your business for sure, just like real estate agents do. But you got to get a handle on where are you financially? What's your debt like? What's your income like? What's your credit score like? What kind of interest rates would you look at specifically if you were looking to buy in today's market? So that's me, JD. I really appreciate you sticking around and watching this video. I will see you on the next one.